Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sharanya Kumar, and today I'll be presenting on evidence from clinical trials on high-risk medical devices in children, a scoping review. This review explores the entire current landscape on the pediatric clinical trials for high-risk medical devices. This is a screenshot of the paper, and here's an overview of what we'll be covering today. We all know that medical devices play a key role in diagnosis and treatment of many diseases in children. Medical devices used in pediatrics range from low-risk tools like dressings to high-risk devices like implants and pacemakers. There are approximately 500,000 medical devices available in the EU market. However, pediatric specific devices are limited, leading to a widespread off label use of adult devices despite the minimal evidence on their suitability and safety in children. To address the safety concerns, the European Union introduced the Medical Device Regulation (MDR) EU 2017/745 to enhance the safety compliance. The compliance with these new regulations became mandatory in May 2024 with an extension for high-risk devices until December 2027. While these changes enhance safety, they also present challenges for the pediatric device manufacturers. So what are the challenges for the pediatric device development? Developing medical devices for children is the pediatric population is small and highly heterogeneous, ranging from preterm infants to adolescents. Ethical consideration and parental concerns further complicate the clinical trial recruitment. Additionally, the financial burden is significant with high regulatory costs and a low return on investment. As a result, there is a risk of market withdrawal for the innovative pediatric devices and reduced investment in the new pediatric medical devices. The core MD project is an EU Horizon 2020 initiative which aims to balance the safety, efficacy, and innovation in the pediatric devices research by reviewing methodologies for clinical investigation. Moving on to methods, this review was conducted using a pre-registered protocol under the Open Science Framework. They also followed the methodology outlined in the Johannesburg Institute JBI Reverse Manual and reported their findings in accordance with the PRISMA SCR guidelines. I've also attached a flowchart for that. And then the inclusion criteria. They have included studies focusing on children and young people aged 0 to 21 years, specifically those investigating high-risk medical devices classified under EU MDR Class 2B/3 and FDA Class 3. The medical device risk classification is different in EU MDR and US FDA. The focus was high-risk medical devices. According to the EUMDR, the definition for high-risk medical device are Class 3 implantable devices and Class 2 B active devices that can be used to administer or remove the medicinal products from the body. And as for the FDA, according to the FDA, high-risk medical device are the Class 3 devices, usually, as Dr. Liberty said, to sustain and support life, and the implants present like unreasonable risk or of illness or injury. Moving on, the search strategy and the study selection. They searched Medline, PubMed, and Embase for studies published between January 2017 and November 2020. Only English language studies were included in this review, and a predefined list of high-risk pediatric devices from the FDA sources guided their research. Titles and abstracts were screened by one reviewer, and while the full text were reviewed by two individuals. The disagreements were resolved by the third. Moving on to the data extraction and analysis. Data is manually extracted by two independent reviewers using a pre-specified. The data extracted included study characteristics, sample size, demographics, device details, and study outcomes. They used basic descriptive statistics to summarize the key features. This is the flowchart. Prisma. And then moving on to the results, the study setting. Their analysis included 99 clinical trials. Most studies were conducted in North America and Europe, while the 65% being the multi-center studies. However, a few trials involved infants and neonates. Then to the evaluated medical devices. Diabetology dominated the studies, accounting for 88% of the trials. Cardiology was accounted for 12%, whereas no trials were found for orthopedics or surgery. Most of the studies were focused on glucose monitoring systems and insulin population, while 61% of the studies focused solely on pediatric patients, 39% included both children and adults. The majority of participants were adolescents, and very few trials, including the neonates and the infants, literally. And to the study designs, the randomized controlled trials accounted for 38% of the studies. Other common designs included before and after studies, that is around 21%, and crossover trials, 20%. Notably, only 13% of the randomized controlled trials used blinding, raising concerns about the bias. And the sample size. The median sample size were around 59%. Here, the IQR means interquartile range, that is the mean between Q1 and Q3, 25 percentile to 75 percentile. They had small trials, and median size was around 48. And diabetology had a median size of 50, and cardiology had a median size of 17. The assessed outcomes. Efficacy and safety were the most frequently assessed outcomes. Patient reported outcomes were included in 24% of the studies, primarily in diabetology trials. Moving on to the funding, the 32% of the trials were industry funded, while 43% had partial funding involvement. Investigator-initiated studies with industry support were noted in just 10 trials, highlighting potential conflicts of interest. And as for our discussion, their findings highlight a significant gaps in the pediatric device research. Most trials focused on diabetology, while cardiology, orthopedics, and surgery were underrepresented. RCTs were limited, and many studies lacked a concurrent control group. Small sample sizes were common, particularly in cardiology. What are the challenges in the pediatric device research? The key challenges included the ethical and recruitment barriers, limited patient population, and financial constraints. The studies tend to focus on commercially viable devices, like for those of type 1 diabetes. And the further research implications, innovative trial designs such as crossover studies and real world data collection could help overcome the small sample size limitation. There's also need for more patient reported outcomes to align with the regulatory expectations. And coming to the regulatory and market implications, the regulatory framework should ensure both safety and market availability for pediatric devices. European recommendations are moving towards improving the clinical investigations for the pediatric devices. And the strengths and limitations. So, this study provides a comprehensive overview of the pediatric clinical trials, but also it has some limitation. Their search strategy was like solely relied on FDA sources, and non-English studies were excluded. And some of the eligible studies may also have been missed because of the search filter limitation. uh, they relied only on the FDA sources as there was an absence of Central European database for the pediatric medical device. And for the conclusion, while RCTs remain as the gold standard, they are often impractical coming for pediatric device trials. Alternative study designs can provide a balance between evidence quality and feasibility. The policymakers should set realistic requirements to ensure both safety and accessibility for pediatric medical device. My personal reflections of this study is that this study underscores unique challenges in the pediatric device development, and there's a need for collaborative solutions. Addressing the research gap across the specialty is crucial for future progress. Uh, yeah, that's it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Sarenya.